Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. This show is brought to you by DraftKings. I love our next guest. Richard Roeper joins the program, longtime film and TV reviewer for the Chicago Sun-Times, plus his podcast is called The Richard Roeper Show. Good to talk to you again, friend. How you been?
Guys, it's great to talk to you. You know, one of my resolutions for 2024 is to get back in studio with you guys at least one morning at some point this year so I can see you in person.
Oh, that would be great. That would be excellent. Yeah. So the Emmys are coming up, and the reason why, well, first of all, you're a great guest and you know this stuff like the back of your hand. So the Golden Globes were this past weekend. The Emmys are coming up this next week. So DraftKings recently pulled the odds to win the Emmys. We did talk about it leading up to it, but they pulled them. How much of an indicator was it last week at the Golden Globes and a predictor for what happened last weekend and how much it has to do with what's going to happen this week?
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is, and I'm sure, you know, your listeners know this, the Golden Globes were on life support a couple of years ago. They had all kinds of scandals. They'd lost their credibility, and they did a great job of kind of, you know, restoring whatever credibility they had. They increased the membership. They got a TV deal with Dick Clark Productions. It's on CBS now. So the voting seems a little more substantial, guys, and a little more reliable. So what you saw with the wins at the Golden Globes in both TV and film are going to play out pretty much the same way at the Emmys and then after that at the Oscars.
Okay. So for people who still have access maybe to the odds elsewhere, like, for example, odds to win Outstanding Drama Series. Succession went off the board when DraftKings pulled it down at minus 1,000, so it's a heavy favorite. After Succession, the odds look like this. The Last of Us, 8-1. The White Lotus, 12-1. Better Call Saul is 20-1. And some more shows are down on the board beyond that. Is this a runaway with Succession in your opinion?
Yeah, it's a victory lap for Succession. I would say the only show there that has a smidgen of a chance would be The Last of Us, because the people who love that show. I thought it was really good myself, but a lot of people just think it's one of the greatest series of all time because it's, you know, it's based on all this popular source material, and the casting everybody felt was really good, and they had some standalone episodes that were, you know, instant classics. So that's the only one in that category I could see pulling off the upset.
Okay, Mr. Chicago, outside comedy series, The Bear is 2-1. Ted Lasso's $1.90. I think you're going to take The Bear at 2-1, which you loved.
I would agree. Yeah, The Bear, of course. And they're actually, as we speak, today is, I think, the first day they're starting work on season 3 here in Chicago. I agree. I think The Bear should be favored here. I love Ted Lasso, but it's one of those shows that, you know, it had a finite run, and the final season was good, but it felt like they were starting to repeat themselves a little bit, whereas The Bear is only in season 2. It's super fresh. It's edgier. It's brilliantly directed. It's got an amazing cast. So I actually think The Bear should be favored there.
Should that show be considered a comedy is my only question.
That is amazing. You know, it's so interesting because if people saw it last year, you know, when you think of, like, you know, there's the famous episode of The Seven Fishes set in the, you know, in the recent past, the flashback episode where all this stuff happens. You know, if that's comedy, I missed most of the laughs in there. I mean, there's some dark comedy, but I think of it as more of a drama with comedy.
Okay.
The idea that it's up against Abbott Elementary, you know, that's comedy, okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you, what did you make of that show, Abbott Elementary? It looks really good. I'm so far behind on TV shows, Richard, it's ridiculous. And also, every time I bring this up, people say, Mitch, you have to watch Barry.
Yeah, Barry's really good, and you got to go back to the beginning for that. What I like about Abbott Elementary is that it proves there's still place for a relatively traditional network sitcom, you know, in the vein of a Modern Family and things like that. You know, the workplace setting, the likable characters, the eccentricities. You know, it's nice to see that, and it's, as such, it's really well done.
How about for lead actress and then supporting actor? Is that going to be Succession as well? Kieran Culkin just won Sunday, and the second choice is Jeremy Strong, and then the gal who plays Shiv is a huge favorite as well. Is it just going to be more Succession awards?
Yeah, Sarah Snook, who was great. Yeah, and when I look at some of the nominees here, like for you mentioned lead actor, Kieran Culkin has been around since he was a kid. I think people know he's Macaulay Culkin's brother, right? Mm-hmm. He's been in movies since he was 4 years old, and he's been nominated for things before, but he's never really won. And he had such a great character to play in Succession. Jeremy Strong's great, but he's kind of a bigger talent, I would say, or at least somebody who's going to get more huge roles. Bob Odenkirk has a slew of Emmys already. So when you look at the category there, you're like, okay, they're going to give it to Kieran Culkin because he's very good. Don't get me wrong. He's a great actor, but he might not ever get a role this good again.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's possible. Never thought about that.
Yeah. And now here we go, Richard. The list to win Outstanding Lead Actor for a comedy series, Jeremy Allen White, who won at the Golden Globes, of course, this past weekend in the show Bear, he moved to minus 1,000 favorite. He's ahead of Sudeikis for Ted Lasso at 5-1. I actually think this category is very, very strong. I thought Martin Short was awesome in Only Murders in the Building, but he's 14-1. Bill Hader and Barry is 14-1, and Shrinking I thought was excellent on Apple TV. Siegel was very good, but I don't think he has a shot here at 35-1. Again, is this going to be Allen White here winning?
Yeah, for sure. It's his year. The first two seasons of The Bear. Jason Sudeikis has won a ton before. Martin Short's been around for 50 years, so people kind of think like he's probably won a lot of awards. I love Bill Hader and Barry, but I don't know if it had the mainstream appeal to get the huge votes. And I agree. First of all, Shrinking's a really good show. Talk about like a really it's from some of the same people who did Ted Lasso, and you could tell because it's got that same. It's not afraid to be really smart and really dark and then unabashedly sentimental. And we need shows like that. At the end of each episode, you want to hang around with these people.
Yeah, you want to have a beer with them.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. Well said. How about some new shows now? True Detective 4 starts Sunday with Jodie Foster. What do you think?
Yeah, guys, it's interesting because there's been 4 seasons. They're not really related, although this one kind of makes some callbacks to the season 1, which most people think is the best. But in a way, this True Detective almost feels more like a season of Fargo because it's set in Alaska. It's got that wintry setting. And what I love about this edition, guys, is Jodie Foster's playing a sheriff investigating some really demented murders. And you can't help but think, how cool is that 30 years after she was Clarice Starling in The Silence of the Lambs? Mm-hmm. It's a very different story. It kind of reminds me of the classic movie The Thing, where there's this station, there's some sort of experiment scientist station, and then weird things start happening. And throughout the series, it's 6 episodes this time around. You're not sure, is it supernatural or is it just the evil of man? It's really well done. Really. That is not light, feel-good viewing, my friends. Don't watch that just before you go to bed, I would say.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that. So you mentioned, how is the run? You just watched Fargo. How's Fargo?
Yeah, the last season of Fargo was really, really good. One of the things I liked about it was it's actually the closest, I think, that it's very close to the film. It has more of the tone of the film and just brilliant performances. And John Hamm plays one of the most corrupt sheriffs of all time. When you think about John Hamm after Mad Men, how great he's been because he did a really smart thing, guys. Instead of just playing the leading man because he's so handsome and that kind of guy, he takes these great character roles. So he plays the FBI agent in the town. He plays a sheriff here. He likes to play law enforcement officers who are kind of a little bit bent. So I think it's really smart because he's like thinking, there's going to be a day where I can't be a leading man. So he's carved out a character actor career.
Okay. And we're doing a 10-part series on the New England Patriots? I know Amendola had a money quote about Brady and that, but it seems like we're getting something new with the Patriots every 6 months.
Yeah, and this is, I think, Apple TV Plus, guys. They just released like the trailer. And listen, the people behind this, it's all quality people. And they got access to everybody. But we've got Inside the NFL. We have a lot of shows like that. My question for you guys, you would know better than I do. I mean, are they going to want to watch this in Atlanta, for example?
No.
They want to relive that nightmare. So I've got all due respect for the Patriots, and the dynasty they built. But I think, when you look at The Last Dance with, Jordan and the Bulls, they were larger than life characters. To me, they're, you talk about the Cowboys as America's team. I think of the 1990s Bulls were America's team. When they traveled, as you guys know, the Bulls were like rock stars in every city they went to. I don't necessarily know that there's that kind of interest in the Patriots. This robotically efficient monolith that just kept crushing everybody. Listen, I'll watch it. You guys will watch it. I don't think it's going to become a popular culture sensation like The Last Dance or even Winning Time, for example, a fictionalized version of the Lakers, which was brilliant.
That was awesome. HBO made a mistake there. No, you're right. This team was hated and despised, and it's just too much. Whether it was something on Brady, something on NFL Network, there's been too much done on the Patriots the last few years.
It's like, do you want to see a documentary about Rocky Balboa or Ivan Drago? You know what I mean?
I'll give you two other shows, and we have about a minute left here. Pauly and I have talked about The Jinx, Season 1, over the years, and how much we love that show. They're coming out with Season 2. And my favorite show in recent years, The Boys on Amazon Prime. I can't wait for Season 4 to pop.
Yeah, that's one of those shows that has a great following and not the hugest following. And I want to tell you about another one real quick. There's a series coming up on Hulu called Death and Other Details. And if you like The White Lotus and you're waiting for White Lotus Season 3, check out Death and Other Details. Very similar kind of structure about a bunch of rich people that you love to hate.
Okay. Up next here, Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. More with Richard Roeper, including betting on the Academy Awards. Odds are still up at DraftKings. And we're starting to see some heavy favorites on the board, but not like most years. Does that mean there's actually value on the favorite right now, or will dogs be barking this year? We'll ask Richard coming up next here on VSiN. Welcome back. We're live. Circa Resort and Casino as we continue with Richard Roeper, TV and film reviewer, Chicago Sun-Times. His podcast is called The Richard Roeper Show. We talked about the Emmys and the awards in the first segment. We move on to the Academy Awards. And Richard, I think we talk to you about the awards every single year around this time. And when I look at the odds right now at DraftKings for Best Picture and some of the other awards, I'm looking at Oppenheimer right now at -$4, and you're a big fan of the movie. In years past, I want to say like that this movie would be like -1,000 or -2,500 or something that's completely unbettable. So here's where I'm thinking: like if Oppenheimer's that big, is -$4 still like, wow, way too short, I got to bet that right now? Or does that tell us that maybe dogs could be barking this year at the Academy Awards?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of hedging bets. I mean, I do think Oppenheimer's going to win, but, and again, we talk about the voters, guys. In the Academy Awards, the Motion Picture Academy, they expanded their membership in recent years to be younger, to be more diverse. As recently as 5 years ago, it was like the average age was 75 and 80% of it were white males. It's not that way anymore. And I mention that not because people are necessarily have to vote a certain way or going to follow a certain pattern, but I think it's a more enlightened and maybe a little edgier voting block. Oppenheimer's a great film, but Killers of the Flower Moon, man, when people see that movie, I think it resonates a little more emotionally with viewers than Oppenheimer just because of what it's about. Mm-hmm. So if you can get Killers of the Flower Moon at a pretty good price, I don't think it's out of the question.
Now, why is that the third choice though? Because we'll get to your list coming up, but you have Oppenheimer 1, Flower Moon 2 for best movies of the year. Poor Things is the second choice.
Yeah, and I like Poor Things, but it's way too out there, I think, to win an Academy Award. It's just some bat bleep crazy stuff going on there. So I don't think it has a chance to win Best Picture.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Well, how about Best Director then? Nolan for Oppenheimer, he's -1,000. Is it his now, or like Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon? He's 7-1.
Yeah, we've had this in recent years sometimes where Best Director and Best Picture go to two different films. People go, how could that be? How does a film direct itself? Well, it's just a way of actually honoring two films, because I think I said in my piece, guys, it's kind of a 1A and 1B for me with Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer. Either one of those you could pick for Best Picture of the year. So I could see a scenario, Killers of the Flower Moon wins Best Picture, Nolan wins Best Director for Oppenheimer.
Where are you at with Barbie overall? Is this going to does it have a chance to win any of the major awards whatsoever?
Maybe. I mean, first of all, I think it was a hoot, and I got a kick out of people who were offended by Barbie and thought that Ken got short shrift because I'm like, Ken, even as a doll, didn't have any character. You know what I mean? Barbie was a doctor. Barbie was a flight attendant. Barbie was a psychiatrist. Barbie was a teacher. Ken was always just Ken, you know? But, Billie Eilish had the song that won for Golden Globes, and I could see that maybe getting a chance, or maybe something for production design or costumes because it had that great look to it. But I think Margot Robbie would be the first to tell you that making $1 billion and even getting nominated is pretty amazing for a Barbie movie, and deserved.
Right. Well, let's stay with that then. So for Best Supporting Actor, Downey was great in Oppenheimer. Downey is -$5. He just won a Golden Globe. Gosling is the second choice. So do we dismiss Gosling then, based on what you just said, and it's going to be Downey?
Yeah, and also Robert Downey Jr. is one of the best actors to not have won an Oscar.
Oh.
He's been nominated.
Okay.
He was great. He was great in Chaplin, and he's also, people love his story because it's a redemption story. The guy was, when he was cast in Iron Man, they were having trouble getting him insured because he was so unreliable, and now he's become kind of Hollywood royalty. He's been around for so long, and it's also a great role. So he's overdue. As we've talked in the past, sometimes it's a career award as well as the performance, and people love Robert Downey Jr. From what I've been told, he's gone from being the worst person on a movie set to one of the best. Treats everybody great, young stars, crew members, everybody. So there's a lot of goodwill toward Robert Downey Jr. right now.
That's a great answer. So you're strong on this one, too. You tweeted about it as well. Best Actress, you think Lily Gladstone wins for Killers of the Flower Moon. She's -250.
Yeah, it's a classic thing, too, where, first of all, it's a great role and it's a great performance. Lily Gladstone has done stuff before, but we're not used to seeing her in movie after movie. So sometimes you almost believe the performance even more, because it's a fresh talent. And everybody in this group is great. Emma Stone's won before. Margot Robbie will get more substantial roles. So, there's a combination of factors there, but I think that's a bigger lock than any of the other categories, guys. It's really Gladstone for sure. Yeah, I really do.
Okay. Well, he's priced higher in the Best Actor award category. Cillian Murphy is -360 at DraftKings as we speak. Can you make a case for Bradley Cooper, +250? Paul Giamatti, we saw him at In-N-Out Burger after winning a Golden Globe. I love that guy. He's +550. Anybody else here that you want to make a case for?
I love Bradley Cooper. I think Maestro's been kind of unfairly maligned by some people for whatever reason. I think Paul Giamatti, guys, has a chance because again, we go back to somebody who's been around, since he played Pig Vomit in Private Parts 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And one day I'll tell you the story about the real life guy for that who almost offered me a radio job one day. That's a whole other story.
Wow.
But he's so great. And I love Cillian Murphy and Oppenheimer, but Oppenheimer, first of all, it's a huge ensemble movie, right? I mean, there's 10 big performances in there, and it's about the story as much as the man, whereas The Holdovers is basically Paul Giamatti's movie with a couple of great supporting performers around him, but there's about 4 main characters, so he carries the film. So it's more of an Oscar bait, type performance, and also, who doesn't love Paul Giamatti, right?
That's right. That's right. He's an unbelievable actor.
So then he's live, then, in your opinion, at +550.
Absolutely.
Okay. Your list, best movies of 2023. You loved Oppenheimer. You think you can win 6 Oscars. By the way, with this guy Ludwig, that's a deep dive, but that's available too. Will he win for composer, the Ludwig guy, for Oppenheimer?
Yeah, Ludwig Göransson. You saw him in the Golden Globes. He's one of the great composers of our times. He's worked with pop stars. He's done it all. So if you're filling out your ballots, and I'll be happy to come on in a couple of months around in March, guys. We can go through it. I can help people fill out their Oscar ballots. But those are the categories you have to win your company pool. You got to win composer and short film and animated short and all that stuff.
Yep. Oppenheimer #1. Killers of the Flower Moon, #2. You had Air, #3.
I think, and people liked Air. It did really well, but I think it's because it came out earlier in the year, guys. I think it's been kind of forgotten a little bit. And, you go back and look at that. It is such a well done. It's the social network of Nike, basically. It's here's how it all happened,
Okay.
And the casting is great. The performances are great. And, Matt Damon continues, I think, to be one of our most underrated actors because he's got such a all-American type of guy look that when you look at the films he's done everything. He can do action movies. He can do romantic comedies. And he was great in this film.
I can't believe you have the killer number 4. I was disappointed, and I like Fassbender, and I love. Help me out with the director.
David Fincher.
Thank you, Fincher.
Yeah.
I love Fincher.
Yeah, I get that. A lot of people were like, "Is that it?" And it's like, there's somebody who sees everything. I just love the way every single scene was like perfectly constructed.
Okay,
but it's not a film you're going to wrap your arms around and watch every year at Christmas.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. How's the Maestro? You have House Cooper and the Maestro.
Yeah, I thought it was great. A lot of people were like, oh, God, they talked about the makeup or the kind of nasally voice. Here's what I would say to people. Before you watch Maestro, go on YouTube and look up the real Leonard Bernstein. It was a huge TV star early on TV with all the stuff he did. Watch the real Leonard Bernstein and then watch the movie and you'll go, holy cow, he nailed it. It's more than an impersonation. He captured the essence of the guy.
Good tip. Do you have any idea, ballpark number of how many movies you've watched in your career?
Well, it's 300 a year. It's right around the 10,000 mark, I would say, at this point. And now because I've added TV, there's probably 2,000 television series as well. But it's definitely more than 10,000 films.
So there's a reason why I'm asking that. As a guy who's watched that many movies, Killers of the Flower Moon is 3.5 hours long. Do you have any issues with that, Richard, or do you knock movies out that are that long for breakfast?
Listen, I just watched Michigan Hammer Washington, and it took 3.5 hours, Monday night. And I had the Huskies +6, so let me tell you, that was a lot more painful for 3.5 hours.
Well done. Yeah. Should the Bears keep Fields?
Yes. Listen, I can see going either way, but you keep Justin Fields. We're going to start all over again with a Caleb Williams, who I think has a kind of similar skill set, and you're going to start all over again. Instead, you've got a guy like Justin Fields, who I think is only going to get better. You draft Marvin Harrison. I draft the entire Michigan offensive line if I could, guys, because that's the thing they do. They need to protect them.
Yeah. Awesome stuff.
Yes.
Follow him on X at Richard
Great
Roeper.
job.
Get his podcast wherever you get your podcast as well, called The Richard Roeper Show. That was awesome. We'll talk to you again down the road, okay?
Talk soon, guys.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Be
sir.
good. Up next, we'll recap last night's betting action and win some, lose some here on VSiN.
Last night? Wow, winning. Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser!
Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
This is historic. This is so good. You had to honor the Winnipeg Jets today with the jersey. They beat Columbus yesterday and shut them out. They've held their opponent under their team total 10 in a row, 17 of 18. The one time it happened, Montreal did it in overtime, so it's 18 in a row in regulation and 24 of 26. This is not on my radar until Jonathan Davis updated this and was on this a couple weeks ago. They've recorded at least 1 point 13 games in a row. They're on a 17-1-2 run. They have the most points in hockey and tied for the most wins. You can still find 25-1 to win the cup. How about this? They haven't allowed more than 3 goals in a game since November 2nd. 30 games in a row, they've allowed 3 goals or fewer. It's the 6th longest streak in NHL history.
Yeah.
The Bruins had 44 in a row in the 20s. And the Minnesota Wild, 35 in a row, the 2014-2015 season. I can't believe this.
So that's the one team. Think about this for a second. That Wild team is the one team on the list. Again, consecutive games with 3 goals allowed or fewer going back. It's now 30 for the Jets. The other teams are from the 20s or from the 50s.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Right.
So the Wild, that team, and this Jets team are the 2 exceptions to that rule.
Yeah, some of these you can't count because the goal happens in overtime, which they used to have ties. So the other thing, when you go back and look at the resume and the schedule, They lost to Montreal, they lost to San Jose, and they lost to another bad team. I think Chicago got them. So this run that they're on, look at the losses. But a 17-1-2 run by the Winnipeg Jets in 30 in a row. 3 goals or fewer. Just play the opponent's team total under every game. The Oilers from $3.80 up to $5 on the road in Chicago. They won but didn't cover the puck line. 8 in a row for Edmonton. Florida's won 8 in a row. Seattle's won 7 in a row. The Jets have won 7 in a row. The Kings have lost 6 in a row. Lakers Raptors over 230.5 up to 238. 132, 131 Los Angeles. Told you it was too high. Memphis plus 370 on the money line. What was up with Dallas taking all that money? Dallas went from 4.5 to 10.5 in that game. Columbia Cornell over. 163.5 up to 169. 91.79. Nebraska plus 275 on the money line. Number 1 and number 2 lost to unranked teams.
Yeah, it's tough to win on the road in college basketball. Good call by Matt Humans yesterday on the Iowa State game. They won it outright. Houston only had 1 lead in the entire game. It was with like 3 minutes to go.
Oh, man.
I got to say, too, Fran Fraschilla is one of the best analysts in any sports, and he has been for a good decade. There was a spot late in that game last night where Iowa State goes to the zone for the first time all game long. Immediately, he goes, this happened on Saturday against Houston, and they shredded their opponent, absolutely destroyed him. We'll see how it goes tonight. He just knew everything, just top of his head, bing,
Very
bing,
good.
bing. Yep.
Okay, Notre Dame plus 230 beat Georgia Tech. Alabama, South Carolina under 157 down to 151.5. Easy, 74-47. And Western Michigan plus 1.5 went off a 2.5-point choice. They won and covered in overtime. Subscribe, be part of the team, vsin.com, our radio and podcast friends. You always want to see these tweets and videos. How about the parent here, where they got the mom, the big dog, has got then the puppy on the back with the backpack.
Okay.
Look at look at this move.
The dog's got the backpack
The dog
on.
has the backpack.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah. And the owner is walking the dog, and then the puppy is on the backpack on the back of the dog.
Sure, why not?
With the puppy. That's a new one.
I wish the woman would have a backpack for the big dog,
Yes.
and then he'd have the backpack for the small dog.
Not bad. Andre, put that up later. Pauly Does Vegas on Instagram. And this one. This is so good. The dog will not leave its brother's side. They're at the vet, and this guy's getting the IV, and he's laying down, and he's a little bit banged up, and you see the brother will not leave his side, and he's resting on his head and laying down. I got you, buddy. It's going to be okay. And I'm not leaving your side until you're okay, and I'm going to get you through this. That's a phenomenal video. That is awesome. Very good. How about 5'11"? The national championship game averaged 25 million viewers, the highest total in 4 seasons. You were disappointed with the game. Well, new blood and refreshing, no SEC, and people loved it with Washington against Michigan. The 3 highest rated college football games this year were all Michigan games.
Well, they have
Rose Bowl, that game, and Michigan, Ohio State.
They do have a massive backing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge fan base.
Yeah. Yep. Lose some. San Jose Sharks have now lost. They lost 11 in a row and 12 in a row. We're only halfway through the season, right? And the Mavs from 4.5 up to 10. I don't understand women. That's well documented. I mean, but look at this. This is at the Golden Globes. Look at this video. This is Dua Lipa. She can't even sit down with the dress. It's like, why even go through this? Where she tweets out, here's what I have to go through because of this dress I'm wearing, and she's got to come in, and it's like whole production for her to sit down. And the thing was 3 hours. I mean, how uncomfortable is that? And there's the video where this is what happens in order for her to sit down because of the dress.
Yeah, it looks fun.
Yeah, right. Why go through that? Why torture yourself? Right?
I'm the wrong. Yeah, exactly right.
All the shoes, the 30 kinds of shampoo, the purses. I don't get it. You know, it's like you can only use one. Well, the purse has to match the outfit.
You really want me to go on a rant here about what it's like? Okay.
Okay. And this is from our guy, Kevin Roth. It's going to be one of the coldest games in NFL history Saturday night in Kansas City. In the second half, it's going to feel like 18 below. The temperature, not 18, 18 below.
What it feels like in Las Vegas right now.
One bad beat. Our guy, Evan Abrams, who does a great job. In August, he gave out the New England Patriots to score the fewest points in the league. They were 30-1. They tied the Carolina Panthers. How bad is that?
They scored the exact same amount of points.
Yeah, 236, I believe.
Oh.
Well, obviously, Carolina got shut out in back-to-back games. How bad is that beat? The Patriots 30-1 because Carolina couldn't score.
So he gets
in
the
the
dead
last
heat
two
then.
games. So he gets the dead heat. Fewest points scored, dead heat, Carolina, New England. If you're looking for a betting edge through the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl, we have you covered at VSiN. Become a subscriber today. Get the betting splits. Also, who has the hot hand with the network? Great dog videos. Your first 30 days, $9.99. VSiN.com/subscribe. Get it now. All right, great job, guys. And there's always something going on. I mean, who thought you'd get this story with the Winnipeg Jets that goes on and on and on, and they get the shutout win yesterday. You wake up or you go to bed. You wake up, you see what happened in Los Angeles. The Lakers win by 1 point. The free throw disparity in the last 4 minutes, 19-0. Lakers in the fourth quarter, 23 to, what was it, 4? 23, 24-3, excuse me. And Anthony Davis was 11 of 11 from the line in the fourth quarter. And the Lakers win by a point. It hadn't happened since 2010 with the LeBron James Miami Heat.
And the Raptors coach went on a nice 90-second rant. We played this earlier in the show, a 90-second rant after the game. He is going to, people are speculating it's a $100,000 fine.
That'd be unfortunate. It's all-time bad.
Again, any sport, there's no accountability.
Yep.
Call the game however you would like.
They don't have to meet with the media.
No,
or just one pool reporter like we
it.
saw with the Brad Allen nonsense.
That's it. And they
I blame the Lions.
Yep, can go on about their merry way and just be on the next game 2 days later.
Yep.
No problems there.
Pounding the table. I loved his line. Well, just tell us when this is going to happen. We won't have to show up. You can just give them the win.
Sure.
I mean, we're going to the basket, too. We have Scotty Barnes. I mean, they have two superstars, and they get all the calls. 19-0 in the last 4 minutes.
Now, think about that.
Oh,
my dad is rolling over in his grave right now, screaming. He's like, how is this possible?
24-3 in the fourth quarter. Ooh.
That's really, really bad. I mean, down the stretch, do you know how long does that take, by the way? And they're getting every single call going to the free throw line that many times.
We just went through this last year.
You're killing the game doing that.
Yeah, right. Because they had the biggest free throw disparity in NBA history.
Oh, yeah.
And we went through this with the Golden State fans, and one team shoots jumpers, the other team goes to the basket, so I could see how that could happen in that particular series. But this is, of all teams, it happens to the Lakers and LeBron.
Of course. Sure. So far, so good for both teams, though, in that trade, I think. I mean, look at the Raptors' offense now. They're playing in a ton of games going to the moon. And the Knicks, I know it was the Blazers' last night latest win, but this Knicks stretch that they're on right now has been quite remarkable. They are pounding teams, and they are covering with ease. And they get the Mavericks tomorrow night, by the way. And so who knows who's going to be ready to go in that game for Dallas, but...
Well, everyone played last night, and Dallas got run out at home by Memphis.
Oh.
So...
Well, based on the number that we see for that game, there's a good chance I'm going to like the Knicks tomorrow.
No doubt. A lot going on in the association. And R.J. Barrett going home again. He had a 30-point game the other day.
That's right, yeah.
Whatever it was. So things are completely flipped, and now we'll see how Toronto reacts tonight because they have a back-to-back, although no travel, but you're taking on the Clippers, and these totals aren't high enough with the Raptors since the trade. Knicks have been great, but Toronto's playing crazy basketball.
In-pocket plays are up next, including a player prop that I bet yesterday. And there's a reason why he's cruised past this number in recent weeks. I'll tell you why coming up next here on VSiN.
To determine the winner of any given college basketball game.
Someone gives you 10,000 to 1 on anything. You take it. Take it. Take it.
I bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day. No way. I'll give you 3-1 odds. Nope. 5-1. Nope. 10-1. You're on.
Let's rumble. It's on the move. 4.5 now, but laid 3.5 with the Chiefs. It's everything Seren Petro said. But between the Chiefs having the week off and sitting people, Miami with all the injuries and had to play that tough game against Buffalo, on the road now, haven't won a game since 2017 when it's under 40 degrees. 1-5 against playoff teams, outscored by 91 points. Going to be one of the coldest games in NFL history. I'll take the Chiefs to get it done against Miami. Browns $1.45 on the money line against the Texans. I have Flacco fever. It's also a mini hedge with my Texans future ticket. Recommendation at DraftKings. Plethora of props are up. Hill and Lamb to combine for 215 receiving yards is 3-1. Lamb might go for $1.70 against his Green Bay defense. And Lamb has been in the zone. And I have to jump in. I think this is outrageous the more I think about it. Give me the Steelers plus 10. Could be 50-mile-per-hour winds. The total's crashed down to 36, 35 in that range. The Bills are 0-8. Last 8 ATS when double-digit favorites. They were laying more than 2 touchdowns last year in the first playoff game and were lucky to get out of there alive at home against Skylar Thompson and won by 3. And couldn't get stops, mind you. So I got to take the Steelers plus 10 here, even though TJ Watt's been ruled out. But between the weather, also what Josh Allen am I going to get? The Brett Favre, turn it around.
Probably a little bit of both.
Probably a little bit of both is right. So I'll take the 10 with Pittsburgh.
I'm with you. Added the Chiefs the other day, minus 3.5 against the Dolphins as well. Yeah, you're right, Pauly. That's 4 at some spots, but moving up to 4.5 here now at several others, including DraftKings, the way it looks. 4.5 on KC in that game. Have not added the under yet. I want to. 44.5. We'll see. Maybe the number continues to creep up and get a better one on the under before kickoff. Here's what I've added today. Now, Josh Allen you can find. It opened up 7.5. I was not quick enough to bet it. It's now 8.5. You can get Josh Allen's rushing attempts over 8.5 at even money. A couple of things to go along with this. When you look at remember the whole thing early in the year, we're going to save this guy until the playoffs for rushing the ball. We're not going to run him a lot. Well, when you look overall at his designed rushing attempts percentage early in the season when they were not designing a thing for Josh Allen week by week, here was the breakdown of percentage of design runs by game. 11%, 9%, 0%, 7, 9, 0. And then week 7, right around when, I think that was the territory, when they made the move at OC, design runs went up to 15, 14, 27, 12%, dipped a little bit late in the season. The last 2 weeks, design run percentage for Josh Allen, 26% in week 17, 34% last week. Scrambling percentage back to 9% in both of these games. His rushing attempts by game, the first 6 weeks, 6, 3, 3, 4, 4, and 2. Middle of the season, rushing attempts by game, 7, 7, 8, 5, 4, and 5. The last 6 weeks of the season, rushing attempts by game for Josh Allen, 9, 10, 8, 5, 11, and 15 the last 2 weeks. Cold, windy, total has dropped.
Yep.
They're relying on his legs much more. The scrambling has gone up. The design runs has gone way up. I think 8.5 is too low, so I bet that one over yesterday, and I got to do it. We talked about this a lot throughout the show. Raptors are an over team. This number has been on the move. It was 235.5 earlier today. You can still find a 237. I'll go Raptors Clippers over that number tonight in the association.
DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs. And you bet $5 in any game, you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code VEGAS only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Code VEGAS. Depends on what state you're in. You can also bet who's going to coach the next team. Several teams are listed as well. That's up there. The crown is yours at DraftKings. I love this. You never know who's listening or watching. Let's go to Riverton, Wyoming. You think Kansas City's cold? Try Central Wyoming. This is from Mike. 25 below next week.
Actual.
Oh, Maron.
25 below actual.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
I got PTS. I like Buckner walking into Shea, going back to my days in Minnesota. This is just brutal. And it's something, when I moved in 2000, I said, never again I want to deal with something like that, because I had to shovel in a snowstorm in April. I said, that's it, I'm out of here. I got to get out. And then just going, we've become soft here, but it's like you get up.
Totally.
Yeah, you
100%.
walk. I walk my dog. It's 27 degrees today. I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. It's supposed to be a desert. What gives? But going back, I remember when I was in high school, the governor canceled school for the whole state because it was 70 below with the wind chill. That was the day my mom boiled the water and threw it sideways and scalded my sister, and I laughed. But that was
wanted to prove a point
about you throw it in the air.
No, not that water can freeze in the air when it's that cold. It's that Pauly was a jerk and we knew what was coming.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But got my sister. Yeah, sure. But that's, my sister. Who knows? But it just goes back. It's like thinking about this and what I had to go through with my childhood.
No,
this is nuts what's going on. And we see it now with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who couldn't get out and get to Boston. They're going to land and get there 6 hours before tip today.
Sure. No, that's absolutely a thing. My friends and I, growing up in the Midwest, we would play basketball, not necessarily in January, but in February and then certainly around March Madness. It's below 32, so it's freezing. You're playing in snowbanks and maybe some mud puddles, right? We were outside in shorts and maybe a sweatshirt playing basketball for 3 hours a day. You're used to it. It doesn't bother you. Now we're out here. We're complaining that it's 28 degrees.
No.
Because your blood thins out, and that's the way it works. We're used to 110 degrees for 5 months at a time.
Yeah, well, this is going to be a nuts Saturday night in Kansas City, and then with the wind following that up with the early game Monday or Sunday with the Bills.
Here's where this is what DraftKings did yesterday. They did open up that market. You referenced it there. Belichick's next team, will he be the head coach week 1? Where is it going to be? The Chargers opened up 2-1. Pats were 3, Falcons 5, Commanders 6. Not the coach of any team was 7-1.
Well,
what would you need for him to be what would you need for him to be the coach of the Panthers? They put 10-1 on that.
Oh, I can't. No.
He would
30 or 40.
He would walk away from the sport. I would think.
What
right?
am I talking about? 50? No way.
I would not.
100, maybe 100. I can't. No way, Carolina.
He's not taking the Carolina job.
I think he's going to Washington. And I don't agree with the Charger stuff as well.
If you're Mark Davis, would you want to have a phone call with Bill Belichick?
I'd want Harbaugh. Do I strike out with Harbaugh?
Assuming you strike out with Harbaugh, yeah. I talked to all of them. I don't settle for Antonio Pierce at this point.
He can't bring in McDaniels as OC.
There's absolutely no way.
All right. FTM at VSiN.com. FTM at VSiN.com. This is from Santino. I'm only 27. I watch a ton of TV. Sopranos is so underrated, it's sick. Most people in my age have never seen it. To me, it's the second best show of all time. The writing and what it explaining and showing Tony Soprano, and played by Gandolfini, who's so good, and just how such a flawed character he is. And anyone who says shows like Succession or White Lotus best ever can kick rocks. It grinds my gears when people say these new shows are better than The Sopranos. He goes Breaking Bad, Sopranos 1, 2. Also, don't tell me that The Wire is underrated. You could go 3-4 episodes a season, which are incredibly boring.
Bingo.
And we have well said, Santino. FTM at VSiN.com. And today is the 25-year anniversary of Sopranos starting, and what a job Chase and they're running the marathon on HBO right now. It started Friday.
The correct answer, of course, is The Sopranos is the show that turned into a wildly underrated slash lost show over the years because there's so much content. It's not The Wire.
Game changer for HBO, too.
People want to burn my house down every time I say this about The Wire. He's absolutely right. You could go multiple episodes in a row, just like I can't. I mean, it took me years to watch The Wire because I gave up on the show. There are some. I thought season 2 was awesome. I know people had a problem with the docs.
I like the show. I like season 2. There's a so-so seasons.
People hated season 5. So how can you complain about 2 of the 5 seasons and tell me it's the best show of all time? You can't.
Right.
And oh, by the way, I thought some of the seasons with the kids, I couldn't do it. I had to sit there and just I really got to put up with another episode of this crap. This sucks.
I didn't like it. I just don't see how you can say that's on the level of a Sopranos,
it's
a Breaking Bad, a Game of Thrones. I mean, there
were some characters in that show that were. Omar is one of the best characters of all time.
Yeah.
I have to give you that. Some other guys on that show were fantastic. It's not as good as the Sopranos. I don't even understand how that's a debate.
I might like Mad Men better, the more that I think about it. I like The Wire, but it's. Yeah. I'm blown away by how good I watched season 1 Friday. Sopranos season 1 is just, to get out of the gates like that was so strong.
Banger of a show today. If you missed it, go search Follow the Money wherever you get your podcasts. Good luck tonight.